Hi everyone, sorry I can't teach you in person today. I just wanted to do this video to talk you through the last little bit of the booklet, which was going to be today's lesson. The last bit of the booklet is looking at retail decline in Dudley. So the earlier part of the booklet was looking at what happens when deindustrialisation has taken place, and processes like gentrification, redevelopment, regeneration, reurbanisation, and how that overall has lots of social and economic benefits to an urban area. Some areas though, such as Dudley, will still face a range of issues. So they'll face competition, they'll also face threats. So some areas will face continued decline, and you looked at that in your previous lesson where you were looking at the different things that had impacted on the high street. So you watched that video, the Mary Portas video, and you started considering the competition, but also things like COVID and the cost of living. So this case study is really just pulling it together, looking at a local place, Dudley. Just as a side note, if you are going to do a human investigation in the summer, one of those topic choices will link to retail decline in Dudley. So if it's something you're particularly interested in, you will actually collect some data which links to this in your studies during your independent investigation, as I said, after Christmas, in spring leading into summer. So case study's got some information in here, and it says that in 2014, the retail specialist Harper Dennis Hobbs carried out a survey. Basically, they created something called the Vitality Index. What this did is it took into consideration, as you can see here, how many or what proportion, in a town centre of those shops were premium or luxury, so high-end outlets. It compared that to the proportion of low-value retail, so things like charity shops, vape shops, pawnbrokers, etc., so cheap and cheerful, and also the proportion of vacant premises, so empty premises. And it's basically looking at the proportion of good shops compared to those lower value or empty retail. Anyway, it looked at 500 different town centres. Unfortunately, as you can see here, Dudley scored the lowest. So Dudley was 500 out of 500. So it got the highest proportion of low value and vacant, the lowest proportion of premium and luxury retail outlets. Now, this wasn't always the case. So you can see in the 1970s, it had lots of large department stores. It was very busy. Shops like Debenhams, which you may have heard of, Beatty's, which was a big local department store. There was also one in Wolverhampton, I believe. And lots of high street names, so top-end high street names at the times, places like Marks and Spencer's, Woolworths, which you may or may not be aware of because that's now gone completely, not just from Dudley. C&A, which was a clothing store, and then also Curry's, which again is gone now, but was an electronics store. So again, those high-end high street retailers. Nowadays, this is not the case at all. So none of those stores remain in Dudley. As I said, some of them have gone completely, companies like Woolworths and Debenhams, but none of them are found on the high street, even stores like Marks and Spencer's. Now, most of the high street is dominated either by vacant premises. You can see here lots of empty shops with to-let signs, or low-value discount stores or market stores taking over those vacant premises. So first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to watch this video. So summarise, when you've watched that video, the extent of retail decline in Dudley. It will give you some facts and figures, and it will also give you some reasons. I'd then like you to read through what these reasons are in more detail. So Merry Hill and the waterfront, read through why that offered particular competition to Dudley High Street, what we talked about last lesson, but facts and figures. Second of all, we've also got the retail and transport developments in Birmingham more recently. So the Bullring, the mailbox is earlier in your unit, and also the metro, which is already close to Dudley, but it'll be finished in the next year or so, connecting Dudley town centre itself to Birmingham. So it makes it very easy, very cheap to get into Birmingham. So people will choose Birmingham. Also, as I said then, the overall decline of high street retailers, so the pandemic, the cost of living, and how that's impacted just on high street stores in general, but obviously then impacting on Dudley. Once you've done that, I'd like you to watch the following videos. There's also a link to Eton College, which is going to open a college in Dudley in the next year or so. The first video looks at heritage and investment in heritage in Dudley. So summarise what's going on there. Think about how it could rejuvenate the town, but does it address the issue of retail, or is it looking more at heritage and education and tourism? The second video does look at retail, but it looks at a specific type of retail. So it looks at the market stalls. Again, think about how that could encourage people back into the town centre, but does it fully address that whole issue? The market stalls as well, just be aware the funding partially came from the EU. So again, even if you do think it's successful, is it enough, or would they need to do more, and would they have that funding available? So you've got some questions to think about there. Whatever you say is acceptable as long as you justify it. Once you finish that, there's an exam question. Now this is broken down into lots of detail for you in your booklet. So if you create your plan on a separate piece of paper, it's asking you to examine. So if you're examining something, you're weighing up the role of or the importance of something. What's our topic? The topic is the continued decline for some central urban places. So what do we mean by a central urban place? We're talking about the high streets. Where have we studied? Hopefully you would remember to focus on Dudley. And what are we actually looking at? The focus of the question, the reasons for that decline. So to what extent or how important are each of these different reasons? In your introduction, this again is explained quite well for you in your booklet. So define what is meant by central urban place. Identify those key reasons for decline. So you've got the competition, but you've also then got the threats as well. And then, as I said, identify Dudley and give a fact or a figure that shows that it's a declining central place. Your main body guidance, I've just broken down into AO1 and AO2. So AO1 is your knowledge, and there's loads of information here. So where's the evidence that the area's high street has declined? As I said, best area to think about is Dudley. You've then got to develop your explanation of the factors that have led to that decline. So preferably in chronological order. So what happened to start with, the catalyst, you might say, what then happened, what's more recently happened or continues to happen to this day. What are those different things? But also then linking over to AO2, which is then looking at the importance of those factors. So was something more important to start with? Is something more important now? Are they all combined in their level of importance? Okay. Last but not least, once you've done that, you then come to your conclusion. So as I said, you will... Oh, my child has just turned my laptop off. So as I said, you would then come to a justified conclusion. Think about the main causes of the decline, but then justify which ones are most important. Okay, so I'm sorry about the quality of the end of that video. If you've got any questions, please drop me a message and I will get back to you. Okay?